Alright, so let's go ahead and replace the do work step with our actual code to delete a collection of users. So we're going to filter the collection of users on the isSelected. So we'll use a lambda expression and do a where statement. So we'll do items to delete equals collection of VM users where x being one of those user view model items where x is selected. And what that'll do is it'll give us back just a small collection of the items that we've checked. Then we'll go ahead and start using our DB context. So we'll set up a context with a using statement. And then inside of this, we will do the work of actually deleting the users. So the context, we'll do context.users.firstOrDefault, and we want to find the user that matches from the selected view model item. So to do that, we will take one of the rows and say where the row.id equals. But first, let's do a for each loop because we'll actually have to do it for one item from the view model at a time. So we'll say for each item in the items to be deleted. And then back to our context, we can say grab the first or default where the row ID equals the item.id. And that item is the item to be deleted. And that'll give us a DTO to delete. Then we'll go ahead and loop through the view model items that we need to delete. And I'm going to label this as view model items to delete, just so that way we have a better understanding of what we're looking at in terms of the code. And I'll also call this a VM items. So now we have something that's a little easier to say this is a view model versus a DTO. And we can see that the ID is coming from the view model item. So now we can take the DTO to delete, and we can, it's remove, and we can pass it into the context and say remove this DTO. And then once we've done that for all of our DTOs, then the last step will be for us to call context.saveChanges. So now we'll go ahead and do a build, and let's see what happens. So back to our view, we'll check two items. We'll remove Bill and Steve. Let's go ahead and put a breakpoint here to make sure that it's all working. So we'll hit delete users. So now we have a collection of 8 items. And item number 1 is not checked. So it's an ID of 2, but it is selected is set to false. Item number 2 is selected. That's true. That's Bill. And item number 3 is Steve, and that is also is selected. So if we step over this line, we'll see if it actually gives us back only 2 items. So if we mouse over VM items to delete and we twirl that open, look at the results, we now have 2 items in there. And these items are just those view models that are set to is selected. So we have IDs of 4 and 5. So let's go ahead and step over again. We'll step into our loop. And the first item that we will be grabbing will be an item with the ID of 4. We'll step over one more time, and now our DTO to delete should be our DTO for Bill. And there's Gates, so that is Bill Gates. So I'll mouse over, or step over again, then we'll step to the next one, and our VM item has an ID of 5. And we'll step over again, and our DTO this time will be for jobs. So now we can step over, and that'll be the end of our loop because we only have 2 items. And then we'll call save changes, and those changes will then be committed to the database. We'll step over, and then we'll redirect back to the index, which will then refresh from the database. And there we go. So now we've deleted Bill and Steve out of the collection, and that is how you go about deleting multiple items or performing an action on multiple items. So in our case, we did delete users, but you could use it in multiple different ways. You could use it to add items to an order if you want to select multiple items, or you could use it for signing up for particular courses or sessions, maybe if you're registering, or anything that involves selecting multiple items and performing a single action.